Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our town hall. I'm Dominique Velger, Community Engagement Specialist. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me today are my colleague, Sarah Struggs. She's also Community Engagement Specialist, and Migdalia Gomez, AVP of Community Engagement, as well as Tom Montilli, EVP of Chief Experience Officer. Now, they'll be behind the scenes. They'll be fielding all of your questions. Now, before we get started, we have some household items that I'd like to go over. This format today, we'll just be answering all of your questions. This town hall is basically really about you. We'll be taking all of the questions that are submitted by you. And also, if there are any background noises, you are muted, so we won't be able to hear them. And we'll be using the Q&A feature, and let's give it a try. So if you have any questions for us and any comments, let's see, where are you guys joining us from? And also tell us how long you've been a member of the credit union. And also this presentation is being recorded. So just in case you miss any parts of it, you can watch it on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/myhuecu. Ah, someone is joining us. Let's see. Ah, from California. That's great.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. That's awesome. Hey, let's see who else. Take another look here. All right, keep them coming. So in the meantime, we're going to proceed. I also like to, before we move on, we are having a summit coming up really soon, and it's called Thrive Together. It's HUECU's Personal Finance Wellness Summit. Now you can join us via Zoom on June 14th and 15th. Of course, register online at huecu.org/summit. It's basically about money and mental health well-being. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of great panelists who will be joining us. So come on and sign up. And now I'd like to also introduce you to the man of the hour, Craig E. Leonard. He's our president and CEO. Now, Craig is a 30-year veteran in the banking industry. He joined the Harvard University Employees Credit Union back in 2010 as executive vice president and chief financial officer. Well, in 2020, he became CEO. Craig has helped lead HUECU to one of the fastest and best performing credit unions, not only in this region, but nationally. And of course, Craig, we'd like to have some opening remarks. Craig, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Great. Thanks, Dominique. This is the first time you and I have done this. So
Yes,
welcome.
lots of fun.
Welcome. So, one of the things that we just wrapped up recently, Dominique, was our annual meeting. And so I would love to take this opportunity to thank Ann Dexter. She was a 6-year board member of ours who decided to step down from the organization. She was just a phenomenal talent that we had here at the organization. So wishing her all the best and thanking her again for the 6 years that she dedicated and volunteered her time to the credit union. And also with that, we had 4 incumbents who got reelected. So I wanted to congratulate them again. That was Mary Straub, Shahar Ziv, Harmon Kaur, and April Edrington. So glad to have you back as part of our board of directors. And we have also one new board of board of directors to introduce, which is Marian O'Brien. She's been a long time member and very happy to have her as part of our directors leading the organization forward. The other thing very quickly that came about from our annual meeting were some changes to our bylaws. And I think the most significant one to our membership was just the way that our members can participate in the election of our board of directors. So previously, the only way that our members could vote was through an in-person method. So you had to come into our annual meeting and physically cast a ballot. Now, certainly the world has changed a lot over the last couple of years, and our board has recognized those changes. So with these changes in bylaws, it just opens up different opportunities for our members to participate in that part of the process. So in addition to in-person, we now have the ability to use an electronic means to vote as well as in person. So a lot more flexibility in which our members can participate in that election process. So And with that, Dominique, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, thank you, Craig. We're going to start filling the questions. Can board members be from out of state?
Yeah, you know what? They absolutely can. We do not have any type of restrictions of where a board member can reside. In fact, one of the candidates that we had in this last election actually lives down in Atlanta, Georgia. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it onto this board this particular time. But again, we don't have any restrictions. The only thing that I would say a potential candidate would have to consider is that within our bylaws, the board does have the flexibility to meet remotely or in person. And prior to the pandemic, the board had met regularly in person. And I think there's a desire at some point in time for them to do that again. So as a potential candidate, I think you just have to keep that in mind of that possibility of again having to be on site. If you're interested in running for a board seat, if you're interested in learning more about what the board does, you can find some information on our website under the About Us and then go into leadership, or you can email me directly. So it's just Craig_Leonard at Harvard edu.
That was actually lots of fun. It was the first time, my first one, and the first one we've had since the pandemic in person.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, yeah, it was. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Do you have plans to open additional branches?
You know, we actually have something in the works right now. We had sent out a communication, maybe it was 30 to 60 days ago, that unfortunately, you know, we had a branch over within the School of Public Health, and you know, certainly when the pandemic hit, that location was not accessible as the building shut down, and so we really haven't been into that space for a solid 2 years. We were notified, unfortunately, that the School of Public Health decided to go into a different direction. And so we won't have access to that particular facility any longer. You know, but even prior to that, we started looking a little bit more within the medical community, knowing that we may need some more branches over there, at least something a little bit more large than what we did have in the School of Public Health. We feel that we have just found a suitable location that I think will be terrific over within that medical community. We are now in the process of just kind of talking through lease terms with the property owner, and that's been going extremely well. So I'm confident that that'll come to fruition, and if it does, it's very likely that we'll be able to announce that new branch shortly, with likely an opening date. It could be, you know, somewhere 90 to 120 days, 20 days in the future. So that would be very exciting for us.
Likewise, I'm sure the other people who are in that area are looking forward to having our presence there. Thank you so much, Craig. Moving on to the next question. Does HUECU have plans to improve service for international members?
You know, I would say that the biggest change that is coming has to do around remittance of money. This is one that we hear a lot from our international members, that getting money into and sometimes out of the credit union can be challenging. More so, getting money from their home countries into our credit union can be problematic. Traditional wire transfer services can be long, cumbersome, expensive. And so what we're doing, and we had talked about this in a previous town hall, is we're actually partnering with a fintech called Wise. They used to be called TransferWise, changed their name. They're based out of London. They've got a phenomenal reputation. And the thing that we really like about this fintech is that they are they're quick, they're very transparent. You'll see that what the cost of the currency is. The transaction cost is much more inexpensive than going through a traditional means of a wire transfer. So when we look at, does this improve the service to our international members, it checked off all the boxes. We had hoped to have this implemented prior to now. We did encounter a couple technical glitches through implementation. We've got those all resolved. And in fact, this is going live for us this coming Monday. The other thing that is a little different about us is that, if you're here in the States and you want to open up a credit card, we don't require a social security number, which makes us a little different than some other financial institutions. We're always looking to improve the services to our international members. But this is one too that I'm going to need some help from those members. So if there's something that we are not providing today that you think would be a real value add, email me. I gave my email out earlier, but again, it's just Craig_Leonard@harvard.edu. I would love to get a better understanding if there are gaps in our services, what they might be, and look at ways that we might be able to kind of fill those.
All right. Our next question, what do you expect to happen with interest rates?
Yeah, I wish I had my crystal ball, but all directions are things are going higher. You hear a lot now on the news, inflation, 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 interest rates are going up. The Federal Reserve has been much more active this year in terms of what they're doing in terms of increasing interest rates. And directionally, they're saying more is going to happen. So you're definitely going to see at least on the short term end of what's called the yield curve. So short-term rates are definitely heading higher. So certain loan products are going to be impacted. Your credit card rates are likely to go up because they're tied to prime, which is on the short end and kind of reacts when the Fed intervenes. Products like a home equity line of credit will likely go up. But there's also opportunities here that you start to see deposit rates start to go up as well. So directionally, I would say rates are starting to head higher. We're seeing that certainly with mortgage rates. They've ticked up, in some instances, a full 1% since the beginning of the year. So they're moving north.
And speaking of inflation, how do you see inflation trending over the next year, and what can HUECU do to help?
Yeah, a lot of economists think that or are hoping that we have reached a peak in terms of kind of the inflation number, which is kind of between that 7 and 8%. It's really high. It's the reason why the Fed is really getting aggressive in what they're doing in terms of intervention. Just the beginning of May, the Fed increased short-term rates another 50 basis points. The month prior, they did 25. So just within the last 2 months, short-term rates have gone up 75 basis points. There is a strong indication that in June they'll go up another 50 basis points. It's all meant to try to tame inflation by really making things more expensive for consumers, so consumers kind of slow down their spending habits. And right now the economy is pretty heated, and so they're trying to make things a little bit more expensive on consumers, and consumers will start to kind of take a step back, and that will hopefully have inflation numbers start to trend down over some time. We'll have to see. It's in terms of what is going to happen. It may be a little bit more prolonged. What can we do as a credit union to help? I think you'll start to see us start to move our deposit rates higher. So you start to get a little bit more return on your invested funds. The other thing that we're doing on the loan side is that we have some products where we have some promotional rates that are locked in for a period of time. So for example, one thing that I think is a really good product of ours right now is a home equity line of credit. It is adjustable, and you're seeing a lot of them, tick higher as prime goes. But we have a promotion rate right now, and it's good actually through the end of June. of 1.99%. And the beauty of that is it's fixed for a solid 12 months. I do expect that rate to go a little higher once we get into July, but that rate at this point, I don't see moving until the end of June, and I'm actually committed within our own organization to keep that rate at that 1.99% until that time. So we're trying to keep some of our borrowing costs a little lower right now to ease some of that burden to our membership.
Right. And our next question, this one I participated in. We did Food for Free a few weeks ago. How does HUCU give back to the community?
Yeah, we have lots of stakeholders within our organization. We certainly have our members, we certainly have our employees, but we also have our community. And so how we, look and give back to our community is really important to us. One of the things, Dominique, that you had just mentioned is that, our employees are becoming much more actively engaged in giving back to the community. And what we have done as an organization, and give a quick shout out to Sarah Scruggs, who's behind the scenes on this one. This was something that she was really championing for us within our organization, is how our employees could be more active. And so what we've done is we've said, you know what, we want you to volunteer your time. In fact, we'll allow you to do it during the workday. So you know what, if you decide that you want to give 2 hours to, give some time up so you can help an organization like Food for Free, or we've got one coming up next week, which is Kratos to Crayons. We've participated in helping clean up the Charles River. We want you to do that on our time, not your time. So that's important to us. There's also financial support that we give to organizations, organizations that share similar vision and a value and mission that's in alignment with ours. We certainly look at. Last year, in fact, was a strong year for the credit union in terms of our financial results. And what that allowed us to do was to increase the amount of financial contributions that we gave to our community. So when we're successful financially as an organization, it just increases the resources that we can kind of give back into the community, which we feel are so important. And then the last thing that we do is a lot of services around financial literacy, financial wellness. Financial stress is a real thing that most Americans, most consumers have. And so the more that we can educate them and help them on easing some of that stress, we feel that's critical and a big part of why we are or what we do as an organization.
Right. We have about 10 minutes left. We do have some more questions. What are HUECU's top business priorities?
When I took over the organization about 2 years ago, one of the things that was incredibly important to me is to remove friction within the organization. And the way I've kind of said this is, what life is too stressful. You shouldn't be stressed in your interactions with the credit union. So we continuously look for ways to remove friction. So that's always been kind of that foundation, if you will. Other things that we're looking at this year are what other services and product offerings that we can give back to you as members, things that we've heard about in the past. So we are evaluating some other services like, for example, insurance and investment services. And we're in that evaluation stage now, but those are going quite well. And I think both of those initiatives will come to light shortly.
All right. We have another one. What are new and exciting things we can expect from HUECU in 2022?
Yeah, some of these we just launched. So, for example, we launched a new undergrad student loan program. Up to this point, we've done most of our student lending towards to the graduate level students, but we have just introduced that. So we think that's a real benefit to the members. We have just implemented a brand new mortgage system. And the whole point of that was to create a better borrower experience. And so that went live just about 2 weeks ago. Other things that we are working on and things that I think you'll see is that we plan on expanding our mortgage geographic reach. Last year, we expanded throughout all of New England. We're looking at other states in which we can expand our reach towards. Our membership is spread out across the country. And eventually, I would like to serve. Regardless of where you live, we want to be there for you. This past week, we've improved within our website, our digital experience. We have now a chat bot on our website, and it's really there to improve that experience that you have. I had mentioned the possibility of this new branch location, which I think will be fantastic. And again, we are looking at insurance and investment services. So we're not sitting still. Lots of exciting things that are happening now, and things that will be happening later this year.
Right. Sarah, do we have any additional questions?
Hi, Dominique, we do have a couple. So I'm always really interested to see what comes up during these panels, because I think a lot of the questions then spur other questions. So this one is wondering, could you discuss the role of cryptocurrency at financial institutions?
Yeah, I think there's lots of talk about crypto, and I think for many institutions, especially institutions our size, we are still trying to get our arms around it and what role, in fact, it's going to play. At this stage, most people are holding crypto or doing it, I would say, more from an investment standpoint. They're holding it in portfolio than necessarily using it from a transactional basis. Okay, so we think crypto is gonna continue to evolve, but we are really kind of watching this space a little bit longer before we as an organization become more active in it.
Cryptocurrency is definitely something that I think all of us should watch for a while. So, as we've learned through like personal finance literacy and all of that good stuff, it's so interesting as to what you can learn from sitting and watching and listening to experts, and being a part of the conversation while also keeping your money as safe as possible, and taking those risks where possible as well.
And some parts of what they're talking about crypto, other parts that may actually be more important than the cryptocurrency themselves, is the technology, this blockchain technology that you may hear about. And there's uses of it certainly within cryptocurrency, but there may be a lot of other applications for it in the future as well.
Thanks so much. There's another one here that says, as mortgage rates have increased, just like most rates have, does it make sense to pay points?
Yeah, this is one we get every now and then, certainly when interest rates start to accelerate. When interest rates were really low, no one was paying points. A lot of it comes down to the math and how long you really think you're going to stay in that home. So what's happened over this year is we've started to see mortgage rates start to accelerate. And what it's done is someone who said, you know what, my mortgage payment, I didn't want my mortgage payment to exceed $2,000. Now with rates going up, they're saying for that same house, my mortgage payment is going to be $2,200 a month. So how can I bring it down? I'm paying points, which is kind of paying down the interest rate a little bit, is a way in which you can do it. And what you need to do is to say, okay, if what's my payment today without points? And what's my mortgage payment going to be with points? Take the difference between those two mortgage payments, and let's just say it's $200 a month. Let's say if you pay points, you're going to save $200 per month But in order to do that, you have to pay this upfront cost of $5,000, let's say. You have to say, okay, how many months will it take me then to recoup that initial $5,000 that you have to pay? So it really comes into how long am I going to stay in my house to really determine if that makes sense. A lot of times people look at that specifically around fixed rate mortgages. The other thing that I would tell people who are out there looking to buy a house right now or refinance their mortgage is to potentially look at some of the hybrid arms that we have. So we have a 10-1 product and a 15-1 product. That means that the product has a fixed rate for the first 10 years, and then it adjusts to a 1-year rate thereafter, or 15 years fixed rate, then it adjusts to a 1-year rate thereafter. You have the benefit of having a really long time period of fixed rates that you know what your mortgage payment's going to be. And what you find is that the difference in rate versus that of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage does the same thing that you're trying to achieve by paying points without the capital or the cash outlay that you have to do up front. So I would definitely look at a 10-1 or a 15-1 as an alternative to paying points.
You, Craig. Kind of as a follow-up, someone did ask, could you explain points? Is
Sure.
paying points similar to paying down the principal?
So a point is 1 point is 1% of the amount that you plan to borrow. Okay, so if you were going to borrow $100,000, 1% of that would be $1,000 that you would have to pay up front. 2 points would be 2%. With each point you pay, if let's just say the rate on a 0-point product was 5%, but if you wanted to pay 1 point, maybe the rate is now 4 3/4, and if you are going to pay 2 points, maybe that rate drops down to 4.5. So you're trying to pay down that interest rate up front and lock that in, and by doing so, you pay that upfront cost to get that benefit of that lower rate. I
Thanks
would
for
say
clarifying.
generally it's not for everyone. And I would say that of the mortgage borrowers we have, less than 10% today pay points. And I would probably even argue that less than 5% today of our borrowers actually pay points. So it's not a large majority of our borrower population that does this, but they do. There is a segment that absolutely does.
So much for clarifying. And I think one of the things I always recommend is that if you would like to learn more about that, is reach out to one of our mortgage loan originators to speak more about it one-on-one so that they can see your situation and help you kind of work through those options with you. And they'll never tell you what to do, but they will tell you what are your options and what might work best with what you have in front of you. So I love all of our mortgage loan originators because they truly do walk you through the process just step by step. And they're like your own personal consultant on that for sure.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Craig,
That's what they're here for, right, Sarah? They do a
oh,
great job.
absolutely,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
sure.
The mortgage
We're
process can be confusing, so absolutely reach out to them. That's what they're there for. They can make something that's a complicated process, easier to understand.
Yes, I don't know if it'll ever be easy,
I know.
but easier. I heard you choose that word wisely.
Yes.
Um, but I am really grateful for this time. We've gotten a lot out of this session, but Craig, I want to turn it over to you to finish us out.
Yeah, just thanks again for joining us today. If you're located here locally in the Boston marketplace, it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Hopefully you get a chance to get outside and enjoy it. Thank you for your membership, and hopefully you'll join us in a future town hall session. So thank you.